In this program, we will input a word. We will process, we'll do some processing based on the use of copy, pause, length, and we will then output it in this rich edit, and we will code everything inside of the process button. So first, let's create a string variable. I'm calling it str of type string. Str equals edt data.txt. So edt data is this particular edit box. It's called edt data. So I'm getting the value from edt data and I'm storing it in this variable. So if I want to display the first character, I will say readout dot lines dot add, and I'm going to say str square bracket 1. There we are. That'll give me the first character. If I want the second character, I'm just going to do a copy and a control V. And if I want the second character, I'll change that to 2. And that will give me the second character. So if I give this a run, you will now see that when I enter some word like computer, when I click on process, I'm getting the C, which is the first character, and the O, which is the second character. So that's how you get particular individual characters. How do I get the last character? To get the last character, I'll just use a comment. Right, to get the last character, I'm going to find the length. So I'll say ilen. Let's declare the variable first. Ilen is a variable of type integer. I'm going to say ilen, assign the value length. So there's my length function. It tells you here it's a function. The name of the function is length. It tells you that it wants a string value. So that's what this is telling you. It wants a string value. And this, after the colon, is telling you the value that the function is going to return. It's returning an integer. So that's why that variable there is of type integer. There's my length. It wants the string. So I've got str, and that will give me the length. I'm using the length function on the string, and it's returning a value of type integer. And now if I want the last character, right, I'm just going to control C, control V. And now what position do I go to? I go to position ilen. Because if I enter the word computer, right, str is going to be, the length is going to be 8. So I'm going to position 8 and I'm displaying it. So that will now give me the last character once I run that. Let's just quickly see how that works. If I enter the word computer again, you'll see I'll get C, the first character, O, the second character, and R, which is the last character. So here we are making use of accessing characters using the square brackets. OK, and we are also seeing how we can get the last character. Now, what if I want multiple characters? The minute you want more than one character, we can no longer use the square bracket. Understand that whenever you use the square bracket, you are always getting one character. Which character are you getting? Depends on what you put inside of the square brackets. So if I put 1 in the square brackets, it's going to give me character 1. if I put ILEN, which is the length, it's going to give me the last character. So if I want the first two characters, right? Get the first two characters, then in this case, we have to use copy. Copy, remember, gives you part of a given string. So the part I want is the first two characters. So it's a function, so it returns a value. So I'll call it first two, which is my variable. Let's declare first. It's always nice to declare. Let's put a S in front of it. First two, because it's a string variable, right? And so here I'm going to call it first two. That's my variable. Now I'm going to use copy. Copy, control spacebar, I get my IntelliSense, and I see it's a function. Function means it's giving me a value, therefore I'm storing it in a variable, right? Once I get the value. So there's my copy. Copy is giving me S, which is some, they're calling it a string or a dynamic array. Now, our first value is a string. The second one is an integer, and the third value count is also an integer. And there's the colon, and this is what it's returning, a string or a dynamic array. Now, just don't worry about the dynamic array. We are working with strings. So with our copy, I am copying from str, which is my string. The second parameter is the position I'm copying from, which is a number, integer. So I want the first two characters. So start from position 1 and give me two characters. That's what copy is doing. Copy from that string, start at position 1, give me two characters. Now I'm just going to output that. So I just pasted what was on the clipboard, and I now need to put down S first. That's my variable. So if I now display this, I'm expecting it to give me the first two characters in my string. So there's an issue here. So it's saying undeclared identifier S first. So it's S first 2. So there it is here. I left out the 2. So that's the mistake. If I run it now, and when I run it, I'm going to type in the word computer again. And you're going to see now computer. When I click on process, there, those are the first two characters that I'm getting. So let's now get from position 4, 3 characters. That's what I want to do. Whatever word I enter, from position 4, take 3 characters. So immediately I want to get part of a given string. So I need another string variable. I'm going to put that in here instead of declaring another line. So it's a string variable, and I want to get 4 characters. So I'll just call it S4 because I'm getting 4 characters out of it. So S4. Now I want to get 3 characters from position 4. So actually I should have called it not S4. I want 3 characters. So I think a better name would have been S3. Let's quickly change that. I want to get part of a given string. So that tells me copy. Copy from str. From which position do you want to start? From position 4. How many characters do you want from position 4? I want 3 characters from position 4. So that's now going to take from my string str, from position 4, it's going to take 3 characters. So let me now output. I'm going to paste again, and I'm just simply going to change this S3, and that will give me the 3 characters. So if I'm entering computer again, right, from position 4, right, so this from position 4, P, that's position 4, 3 characters, PUT, so that should output PUT. There we are. That's now displaying the PUT. So that is how you can get part of a given string. Also, maybe I should just add here. Yeah, I could use copy as well. Instead of using the square brackets, I could have said copy str, start from position, sorry, comma, start from position 1 and take 1 character. So this will also give me the first character. So those of you that may prefer using copy only, you can use copy to get a particular character in a string. So let's complicate it a little. How do I get the last character? Here we obtained the last character using the square bracket. How can I use copy to get the last character? To do that, let's say copy str. Start from where? Start from the last character, the position of the last character, which is ILN. And how many characters do you want from the last character? Well, you actually only want 1, but you are at the last character. So you know what? I'm going to use 2 parameters. So from the last character, it's only going to get that character, and it's going to it will display that. So this is how you could use copy to get the last character or to get the first character. But how can I get the last 2 characters? How can I get the last 2 characters? So I'm going to create a variable called last2. Let's just quickly go and declare that, comma s last2. And here I'm going to say copy. I want the last 2, right? I'm copying from str. Where do I start copying from? ILN gives us the last character. So how do I get 1 before the last character? How do I get to the position before the last character? You just subtract 1 from that value. Remember, ILN is a number. So if the number, for example, is 8, if the word is computer, then ILN will be 8. So 8 minus 1 is 7. So we are copying from position 7. And how many characters do we want? We want 2 characters. So I could put 2, but there's no need. Just go to the end. And that should give us the last 2 characters. And here I'm going to display s last 2. So let's give this a run. I forgot my semicolon. We can't be careless when we're programming. Every little error is picked up. So again, I'm going to type in the word computer. And if I say process, there we are. Last 2 is the E and the R. So in the same way, if you want the last 3 characters, right, it will simply be ILN minus 2. ILN minus 1 gives you the last 2. ILN minus 2 will give you the last 3 characters. Then what about input a string in the form name, or rather, let's before I get to that, input a name and a surname. The initial and the surname. So an example, if you have the name Winnie Pooh, then your output is W, which is the initial, and then PWH. So that should be your output. So how would you go about doing something like this? Now, to get the first character, that's very straightforward. So I'm going to say is first. I'm going to declare the variable now. Let me just write the line to get the first character. Let's go str. Let's do that instead of using copy. And then now you just have to think about this, right? Let's quickly just put in first as a variable. Yes, got the first. Now I want, let's just think about this. I want to get the surname. What we do know, we know that every time you want the surname, if there's a first name and a surname, there's always a space that separates the name and the surname. So if I can find the position of where the space is, then I will know from what position to copy from. Because ultimately, to get the surname, I need to copy. But I don't know where to start copying from because I don't know what the user is inputting. I'm just using this as an example. So in this case, I need to find the position, the space in my string str. Find the position of the space. Once I know that position, I use that to get the surname. So now I'm going to say s surname. I'm going to declare my variables now. Don't worry about that. So I'm going to say copy from str. Where do you want to start copying from? I want to start copying from. This is where the space is. I want one position more than the space. So if I found the space at P, that's where we did it. There's the space. So if I found the space at position P, one more will be +1. And close it. Go right to the end and get everything from that point. So irrespective of how long the surname is, copy from the position where it found the space right to the end. That will give me the surname. So let me just bring in my variables. S surname is also a string, and I've got P, and P an integer, because when you find position returns a number. So now let's put in our readout. I just pasted from my clipboard, and I want to the initial, which is S first. I'm going to put a dot. So in quotes, I'll put a dot, and maybe let's leave a space after the dot, and let's then display the surname. So there we are. I found S first, which is the initial there, and then S surname, which is the surname here, and I'm displaying it. So that's how you would go about finding. I'm careless again. I left out a semicolon. That's how you would go about finding. Another mistake. So it's S first with a F. S first. Some very careless mistakes. I've got a bit of a sticky keyboard. So as long as we know how to correct them, then that's fine. So this time round, I'm not entering the word computer. I'm entering the word Winnie Pooh, and everything it's going to do is going to be based on it. So you'll see the first character, second character, the last two characters, and so forth. But this is what I'm interested in. There's the initial W, and there's the full stop, and then there's the surname. So that's how you would go about finding the initial and the surname if you're inputting somebody's first name and surname. As a final example, we want to input the name. Say we want to input data in format name, hash, age, output the person's years time. Now the thing here is when the person enters their name and the age, this is how they are inputting it, right? So an example, if I can write down an example here, it would be Winnie hash, and you have an age, for example, 20. So Winnie will be 30 years. Right, in 10 years time, Winnie will be 30 years. That's what the question wants to know. How old will the person be in 10 years time? But keeping in mind that the input has a hash in between. Now, some of you may be thinking, but who inputs things in that way? Now, later on, we start working with files that have delimiters in it. And when you work with files with delimiters, then these things come in. And this serves as a delimiter between the name and the surname. Now, this is a common practice when we work with text files. So this is something you must know how to work with. So make sure you understand how to do something like this. So the idea here is to split the name and to split the surname. And we know there's a hash in between. So the key to this is to find that position of the hash. So I'm going to say P. Notice I used P here earlier on, and I processed it. So I don't need, I can overwrite the value of P. So if I use P again, it's not a problem because I finished process the value that I needed earlier on when I used it. So here I'm going to say P, find the position of what? The key here is to find the hash. In what? Once I know that hash, I can use copy and I can get the name and I can get the age. So I'm going to say, and you know what? I'm going to make use of some of the variables that I've already used. So I'm going to use S first. Name. So I'm going to say copy. Where are you copying from? str, because I'm going to input. Remember, all my input is done in this variable str, and I'm going to process that. So str, where do I start copying from? I want to start copying from 1 because I want the name. So to get the name, start from position 1. But how many characters do I take? I don't know what name the person entered. Winnie is just an example. But because I found the hash, because I know where the hash is, so that is how many characters I want. But I want to stop before the hash, so I put a -1. So if the hash was found at position 6, I am taking 6 minus 1. From position 1, I'm taking 5 characters, and that gives me the name. And to then get the age, right? To get the age, I'm going to say copy from str. Now the age is after the hash. After the hash. And we know the hash is at position P. So go after that, P plus 1. So I'm going to copy position P plus 1. So that is going to give me the age. Now, although age is a number, what's critical for you to understand is that whenever you use copy, it always gives you a string. Copy always returns a string. Even though it's a number, it returns a string. So I'm going to call this SH like that. And let's declare SH. I'll put it up here, SH. So that's my age as a string. So SH, copy from P plus 1 where the hash was found right till the end. And after I've got that, remember I need to add 10 years to it, right? Because that's what the question wants. So to add 10 to it, remember we need to convert this to an integer. So I'll create an IH variable. Some of you may say you could have done all of this in one step. I agree. I've chosen to break it down into multiple steps. So IH is equal to string to SH. I'm taking the age that I just worked out. I'm converting it into an integer. And I'm adding 10 to it because we want to know the age in 10 years time. So add 10 to it. And let's declare this variable IH. Right. And now I've got the age. This is the age. I've converted it into an integer. Remember, we can have numbers as strings, and this is going to be a number as a string. I take that, convert it into an integer so I can do a calculation, and I now have the age. So all that's left to do is to output. I paste it and let's now put the output I want. So let's first have the name, which is S first. Okay, will be, notice I left a space here after the name. I leave a space, will be. Right, close that string, plus let's print IH. Remember, IH is a number, so we have to go int to string. So will be so many years, so many, and then let's put the word, leave a space, years. So what this is doing, I'm trying to replicate the output that I indicated I want. There's the name, Winnie, will be, there it is here. Notice there's a space here, there's a space before the will, and there's a space after the B. Will be how many years? I worked out IH, converted it into a string, and will be 30, well actually it should have been 30 years. That's the years there, and I had a space. So all that's left to do now is to give this a run. And when I run this, I'm going to enter Winnie hash. When I click on process, Winnie will be 20 years. So if the age was 10 years, Winnie will be 20 years in 10 years time.